Welcome back to DCR Rails, and in our last video that I put together, I sidetracked myself. I didn't get finished with the inner loop. I was so busy, I got so excited about being able to run trains that's what I did. I just ran trains. And so now it's time to get to work again and put the inner loop in and figure out where things are going to go. And run another train by the end of this thing. So without any further ado, let's get started, shall we? Because I keep the railroad in the garage, and when it rains or inclement weather and we open the garage door, the water will drip on the layout. So I've devised a little bit of plastic to put here to protect it when I have it all put away. So it rolls up against the side here. I ran the tape down the entire length of this with 1 foot sections. So I've got my 1 foot bonus, then 8 feet of what I'm planning on doing, and then another 1 foot bonus on the other side. And I've pulled out some of my rolling stock, but in honor of having the outer loop completed, I have what I call the golden spike moment, where I've got the entire loop complete and I pulled out the rolling stock. But in celebration, here's the golden spike moment of the railroad that happened on July 3rd of 2021 when I had the outer loop laid on my blank canvas, if you will. And so with the blank canvas, the work begins. So now to lay out what I'm going to do. So inside the tape represents where the plan is going to go, with a little bit of adjustments, obviously. And then outside the tape is my addition to this plan, which I call the outer loop. So with the outer loop in place, I can run trains, which I haven't been able to do in years. And then I've got my markings all the way down and laid the track on top of it so we can look at the plan. And if I come here and take a closer look at said plan, I've got a bridge and a Y, and it looks like it happens at about 3 feet, 2 feet in. 1 foot, 2 foot, about 3 feet in is where that's going to be. So with this layout, that would put it about 4 feet. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Right in here will be where that Y goes. So I'll just put a little mark here. I'll come back and mark it with tape here in a minute. The other thing that I have planned on doing is right here will be the switch yard. That's why all the cars are parked here. But coming off this loop right about here, we'll put a switch in, and I'll bring it around here for the arrival departure track. So let's get that laid out. Try this again. Okay, I've got Kato Unitrack here, and right here is where the curve begins and the straightway. I plan on putting a switch in right here, and then I'll put another switch in here, and then this can be for the arrival departure. And then I don't know if I'll use the micro engineering track or not, but I've got it laid out, and so we'll lay it down here and run it on up, and that will be the ladder for the switch yard that'll go in here. And then I need to put another switch in on that curve there. My outer loop of the layout will come around the raised section of the railroad, and right about here I'm going to put another switch in for the arrival departure track. Excuse me, that is a turnout and not a switch. I understand that. So with that in place, I'm going to take this Cato track and use it as a template for the curve, because my engines can make this 22.5-inch radius that this curve is, and I'll put a curve in right here for the arrival departure track. Something about like that. Come off that curve, come around like so, and I want to get about 2 inches between the center of these two tracks. That way there's clearance for the cars here. So let's see where I need to measure this at. So there's 1 inch, 2 inch. So it's a little over 2 inches, but I like that gap there. I can probably get fingers and things in there to move cars and things around as I need to down the road. So I think this is about where I want this. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the outline of this edge here. Then I'll just take this straightaway, move it over here, and line it up with the switch I have planned for down here for the arrival departure track. And I'll connect the dots over here on this end. See if I can do this one-handed. Come off of here. Come off of here. Oh, yeah, that needs to come to here. There we go. So now when I remove this, as you can see, I now have laid out where the arrival departure track is going to go. Now my outer loop will connect to the layout plan, and now to continue to do this. So what I'm going to do now, and I'll do it off camera because you can do the same thing on your own, I'm going to take the blueprint and so the arrival departure track is here and it hooks into this, and now I will work the rest of the layout. This here's raised section. There's the raised section. It's on this end of the layout. There's this. I scooched it over a little bit to give me a little bit of room on this other side, and we'll have it over there. So I've got my rolling stock and things out because, well, I wanted to run trains. So I ran some trains over the 4th of July weekend, and had a good time with that. And now I want to get a 3D view of this layout. So I'm going to put down the paper switches, turnouts, kind of put where I think different things are going to go according to my blueprint, and we'll have this thing ready to go here to do some real work with getting set to lay track. So here's the switch for the arrival departure track, which will come through here. And then another set of switches that'll put it back on the main line, or we can go out onto the branch line. We come off here, and then where this caboose is will be an industry. I'm not sure I'm going to have a meat packaging plant or a furniture store, but there'll be something there. So I've got the meat packaging plant. I've staged a couple of cars there. Come through, another switch. Here's where they pick up the cattle, and then the switch comes around, and then, as we recall, we had the Y right there, and it's about where I marked it. So here's the Y, and then that's a reverse loop, and then there'll be an industry over here that I haven't got figured out yet. And then it comes along here, and it begins to climb. And here's the representative of it climbing, and up it comes over a bridge, and then right in here there is a switch to go in for the coal mine, and then another switch which will come off here for the coal dumping. And it goes around up here at an upper level. I've got some ideas here for another bridge where it comes along, and then the bridge over where the Y is, a switch which will run off here for the foundry or the meat packaging plant, or both, I haven't decided, and then a decline. And then I've got it penciled in here where it comes around parallel to the main line. And then there's a switch, one which takes it to the ladder to go into the yard. Or we go the other way where there's the switch for the reverse. And then it comes down here in front of the train station, represented by this pile of blocks. And then there's a freight station where I've got the box cars, and then it comes back around and hooks up for the lower loop. And if we took the other switch back up here, we come down the ladder where I have these engines sitting on the ladder to weigh the papers down into the yard. And I've taken the liberty of putting my rolling stock into the yard. Now we got the power on. I've got the locomotive. I'm not going to tell how many years ago, but I got it when I was about 11. So it still runs. One of the few engines that still runs. So we give it some juice here. And what I'm going to have to do is run another set of wires over here and power this far point, because it slows down as it comes around here. It's the furthest point from the power at the moment. But it continues on around. It picks up speed. Does just fine down here. But when it gets to the far side of the layout, it starts to have some problems. So I'm going to have to find some wiring and run some wire out to that far end and have equal power around the layout. So I'm going to load up some cars, because this thing tends to run better. I don't know why, but this particular locomotive has always ran better in reverse. So let me introduce you to the train. So this was my first engine. Actually, the engine that came with the set is defunct. It was a Burlington, a red engine. But it came with a Burlington boxcar and a Virginian coal car. So these are two of my original cars. Had a car carrier that's met a demise. I like the freight cars, so here's one of those. This is one of the first kits I bought and built. It came with a flat car, and then the original caboose is over here, and it isn't working too good. I could never get it to run. It fell apart, so I figure I'm going to use it for a yard office. So I like the bay cabooses, so I bought a bay caboose for that. So here's the bay caboose that I built. No weathering as of yet, but that'll come eventually. So in honor of some of my earliest cars and favorite cars, the inaugural run of my first train with the layout laid out as it may be in the future, we'll give it some power, and I'll leave you with my inaugural train with my oldest cars in the set running around the track. So that's how I would run it as a kid. Now let's slow it down to some scale speeds and see what we've got.